Most people don't expect their life to shift in a single heartbeat, yet that's exactly what happened the moment he looked at her, really looked at her. Not the casual glance of a stranger passing by, not a polite smile exchanged in a crowded room, but something deeper, something that made the air feel charged and strangely warm. That moment unfolded on a quiet evening in the small observation dome, perched above the city, where Nova worked the late shift sorting data for the local sky research program. She wasn't expecting company. She certainly wasn't expecting him. Nova had always been the steady one, reliable, careful, and rarely swept up in anything dramatic. Her coworkers used to tease her, calling her the calm in the storm. She never argued with them. Calm felt safe. But the night Kalen arrived, calm felt miles away. He stepped through the sliding glass doors just after the system clock reached 9, carrying a faint glow in his eyes that didn't look entirely earthly. Still, there was nothing threatening about him. He looked curious, almost gentle, as if every detail around him fascinated him. Nova straightened, brushing her dark hair behind her shoulder as she cleared her throat. "Sorry, sir, this level isn't open to visitors tonight." He didn't blink. "I know, I came to see you." Those words should have sounded strange, but they landed softly, like they had been waiting for the perfect moment to be spoken. Nova's heart tapped once, sharply, against her ribs. She frowned, carefully. "You came to see me? Why?" Kalen took another step forward, his gaze tracing the star maps flickering across the dome walls. "Because you sent a signal." Nova's breath caught. "What? I didn't send anything." "You did," he said gently, his voice low but warm. "Not with machines, something else." She blinked at him, baffled. It had been a simple evening, ordinary, predictable. She filed reports, calibrated readings, sipped lukewarm tea. She definitely did not send a mysterious signal into the universe. Before she could form another question, Kalen lifted his eyes to meet hers fully. That was the moment everything shifted. Because the way he looked at her, like she mattered, like he recognized something she didn't even realize she carried, left her momentarily wordless. It was the kind of gaze that made her feel seen in a way she never had been. Nova swallowed hard, suddenly aware of the trembling in her hands. She tried again, her voice barely steady. "Sir, I think you're mistaken." Kalen tilted his head, studying her face with quiet, thoughtful intensity. "No, I am certain. I felt it all the way across the divide." She wanted to laugh, or question him, or back away. But instead, she found herself unable to break the pull between them. Something in that look, steady, searching, felt strangely familiar. "Across the divide?" Nova whispered. Kalen nodded once. "The place where my people watch the worlds, where we listen for hearts that call out without meaning to." Nova's pulse tripped. "I'm sorry, that sounds impossible." Kalen's expression softened further. "I understand why you think so, but something in you shifted the sky." Nova let out a shaky breath and turned slightly, glancing at the dome's glass ceiling. The stars above were bright tonight, unusually bright. But that didn't mean anything, did it? She faced him again, trying to gather her voice. "Why would someone like you travel all that distance just to see me?" Kalen's reply was quiet but firm. "Because you're in danger." Nova froze. The room felt suddenly colder, the hum of the equipment fading beneath the echo of his words. She took a slow step back. "What does that mean?" Kaylin glanced toward the far windows, as if sensing something outside the dome that she couldn't see. Not tonight. Not yet. But soon. Her stomach tightened. Then why come now? Kaylin turned back to her, and for a moment, his expression held something she couldn't quite name. Something like resolve, and something almost tender. "Because I intend to keep you safe," he said softly, "and because your life is about to change in ways you never imagined." Nova's breath hitched. She didn't know if she should believe him or run, but she could feel it, some invisible shift settling between them. Something was coming. Something big. And Kaylin wasn't finished speaking. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Sometimes a single warning lingers long after the words fade, and that was exactly what happened to Nova. Even after Kaylin went silent, his message echoed in her mind like a quiet thunder she couldn't outrun. Danger. Soon. The dome felt too still, too bright, as if every blinking console suddenly held secrets she couldn't read. Nova folded her arms gently, grounding herself with a slow breath. "Kaylin, if something bad is coming, I need you to be clear." Her voice trembled, but she kept her gaze steady. He didn't move toward her. He simply watched her with that same thoughtful calm, like someone choosing his words with the weight of entire worlds behind them. "I can't tell you everything yet," he said. "If I did, it might change what must happen." Nova shook her head softly. "That isn't helpful. You're asking me to trust something I don't understand." Kaylin's expression shifted. Not offended, not frustrated, more like he was quietly impressed. "You're brave," he murmured. "You question even when you're afraid. That's why the call reached me." She opened her mouth to deny it. She wasn't brave, not really. She followed rules, kept to schedules, lived her life safely tucked between predictable routines. But then she remembered the way her heart jumped when he first looked at her, the way something inside her felt recognized. She swallowed. "Why did you say I sent a signal? I didn't do anything." "You did," Kaylin replied gently. "Not with machines or light, with emotion." Nova blinked. "That makes even less sense." Kaylin took a slow breath, as though searching for a way to explain without revealing too much. "My people sense shifts in emotion the way others sense changes in weather. Someone can whisper across the sky without speaking a word." Nova lowered her gaze. "And what did I whisper?" Kaylin hesitated, just for a moment. Then he answered in a voice soft enough to break her balance. "You whispered that you were lonely." The breath left Nova's lungs in a stunned rush. "Lonely?" She almost stepped back, almost protested, almost defended the stable life she crafted brick by careful brick. But the truth slid into the space between them, anyway, quiet, heavy, undeniable. She had felt lonely lately. Lonely in the comfortable kind of way, the kind that seeps into your days without you noticing until someone points at the emptiness gently and says, "There, right there." Nova pressed a hand to her chest, feeling an unexpected sting behind her ribs. She knew he wasn't mocking her. He wasn't judging her. He had simply seen something she spent years ignoring. She lifted her eyes. "You crossed worlds just because I felt lonely?" "No," Kaylin replied, his gaze steady. "I crossed because loneliness carried a warning underneath it. Something in you stirred the divide. Something powerful." Nova's pulse quickened. "I don't have any powers." Not the kind you imagine, he said quietly, but something awakened in you, and others, dangerous others, will notice soon. Nova's hands tightened at her sides. Who are these others? Kalen looked toward the sky again, his jaw setting with subtle tension. They watch the same worlds we do, but with different intentions. They sense potential, they chase it, and they don't always ask permission. A chill brushed down Nova's spine. And you came to stop them? I came because I felt you first, he answered softly, and because something about you is important. Nova's heartbeat stuttered at the last word. Important? No one had ever said that to her with such certainty. Her coworkers appreciated her, sure. Her friends liked her. But important? That was new, unexpected, unsettling. She stepped closer before she realized she had moved at all. Kalen, if something's coming for me, I need to know how to prepare. He smiled faintly, sadly, almost. Preparation isn't the part I fear. It's what you'll discover along the way. Nova felt her breath catch again. Discover about what? Kalen met her gaze fully, and for a moment his eyes flickered with a soft, unearthly glow. About yourself, he whispered. The room felt suddenly smaller, warmer, heavier. Nova's mind spun with questions, too many to sort. Yet one rose above the rest. What happens next? She asked. Kalen exhaled slowly, looking toward the staircase leading down to the lower levels of the facility. Something is already moving your way. I can feel it. Nova stiffened, following his gaze instinctively. What is it? She whispered. Kalen didn't answer. Because in that moment, the lights around them flickered, once, then twice, before the entire dome hummed with an energy Nova had never felt before. Her heart skipped. Something was coming, and Kalen could sense it long before she could see it. The flickering lights settled after a few tense seconds, but the quiet that followed felt nothing like calm. It was the kind of silence that made Nova's skin prickle, as if the whole dome were holding its breath. Kalen stepped toward the central console, placing his hand over a glowing panel that reacted instantly to his touch, even though the system wasn't built for anyone outside the staff. Nova watched in disbelief as the screen pulsed beneath his palm. That's not possible, she whispered. Your technology shouldn't recognize you. It doesn't, but it recognizes the energy following me. Nova swallowed a tight breath. Energy? You mean that thing you said is coming? He gave a small nod. The console lights shifted from blue to a deep, pulsing gold, something she had never seen before. The pattern spiraled outward, dancing across the dome's walls like ripples across water. Nova wrapped her arms around herself. Kalen, what does that color mean? That the search has begun, he said quietly. Her stomach tightened. Search for what? Kalen finally turned to her, his expression holding far more worry than he wanted her to see. For you. Those words struck her harder than she expected. She took a slow step back, her breath uneven. Why me? Nova whispered. I'm nobody important. I live a quiet life. I work, I go home, that's it. Kalen's gaze softened. That's what makes this difficult. You lived quietly because your gift was asleep, but now it isn't. She nearly laughed from the absurdity of it. Almost. Gift? I don't have a gift. I don't even like being the center of attention. You don't have to like it for it to exist, Kalen replied gently. He walked closer, stopping only when he sensed she needed a bit of space. You feel things deeply, Nova. You always have. But recently, something inside you reached beyond the ordinary, far beyond. Nova shook her head. That doesn't make any sense. I've been the same as always. Kaylin studied her carefully. No, something in your heart changed. And when a heart shifts that strongly, it sends out a resonance, a voice the universe can hear. Nova blinked at him. I didn't feel anything. Some emotions speak quietly, but they still echo. Nova pressed a hand to her chest, remembering the quiet ache she had carried for weeks, the feeling of wanting something. She had pushed it down, telling herself she was just tired, overworked, restless. But what if it had been more? She steadied her voice. Why would anyone, anything, come looking for that? Kaylin's expression darkened with concern. Because your resonance awakened something old, and not all who listen are compassionate. A shiver ran down her spine. Before she could ask more, the dome vibrated again, this time with a low, distant rumble that made the floor tremble beneath her feet. Nova stiffened. What was that? Kaylin's eyes shifted toward the sky overhead, scanning the stars as if reading messages hidden between them. They're close, he murmured. Nova's fear spiked. Then we need to leave, now. Kaylin didn't move. Running won't help yet. They're drawn to the shift inside you. They'll follow it no matter where you go. Nova's breath turned shallow. Then what do we do? Kaylin stepped toward her, his voice steady. We stay together, he said softly, because your resonance is strongest when you feel alone. And if you're with someone you trust, they can't track you as easily. Nova's chest tightened. Someone I trust? Kaylin held her gaze gently. I know trust doesn't happen in a night, but if you allow it, I will protect you. Nova didn't look away. She couldn't, not with the sincerity in his eyes grounding her like warm light. But the moment froze when the dome lights flickered again, more violently this time. A sharp beep echoed from the console behind him. Nova spun toward the sound. What is that? She whispered. Kaylin glanced at the display, and his expression shifted to something far more serious. They've reached the perimeter of the facility. Nova's breath caught in her throat. Here? Already? He nodded slowly. We don't have much time. Nova moved toward him instinctively, her heart pounding hard enough to feel in her fingertips. What do they want with me? She whispered. Kaylin turned toward the staircase leading to the main level. His voice dropped to a determined murmur. They want your gift. Nova stared at him, stunned. I don't even understand what my gift is. That, Kaylin said, as the floor hummed again, is what they intend to discover for themselves. Nova's pulse surged with fear and confusion, questions tumbling through her mind faster than she could speak them. But she didn't get the chance to ask. Because from somewhere far below them, a faint metallic clang echoed up the stairwell. Someone, or something, had entered the building. The metallic clang echoed again, louder this time, sharp enough to send a shiver racing down Nova's spine. It wasn't the kind of sound caused by a loose vent or a settling wall. It was deliberate, heavy, intentional. Nova stepped closer to Kaylin without thinking, her pulse quickening. Is that them? She whispered. Kaylin didn't answer immediately. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, as if listening to a frequency only he could sense. When he opened them again, his expression had shifted to quiet urgency. They've crossed the threshold, he murmured. 2 of them. Nova's breath caught. 2? What do we do? We move, he said gently, but we keep our pace steady. If you panic, your resonance will spike again. Nova nodded, trying to steady her breathing, even as fear curled tightly beneath her ribs. Kaylin guided her toward the back exit of the dome, the one usually used by technicians, but he didn't rush her. Every step felt strangely suspended, like the world was holding its breath around them. As they reached the small stairwell, Nova paused, gripping the railing. "Kaylin," she whispered, "you said they want my gift, but I still don't understand what's happening to me." He turned toward her, his voice soft but resolute. "You will, but understanding often comes at the moment we least expect." Nova exhaled shakily, the words offering comfort and uncertainty in equal measure. They descended the stairs, moving deeper into the quieter levels of the facility. Most of the staff had gone home hours earlier, leaving the halls dim and eerily still. Only the low hum of machines and distant city noise filtered through the air. Nova glanced over her shoulder. "Kaylin, what do these beings want with people like me? What do they do?" Kaylin hesitated, something he rarely did. "They study emotion the way others study energy. They extract it, they twist it, they reshape it." Nova's stomach tightened. "That sounds terrible." "It can be," Kaylin said quietly, "especially when the person they seek doesn't know how to shield themselves." Nova stopped at the bottom of the stairs, turning toward him with widening eyes. "Shield? I don't know how to do any of that." Kaylin took a gentle step closer, his voice lowering into a calm, grounding tone. "That's why I'm here. You won't face this alone." Nova felt her breath steady, just slightly, as she held his gaze. There was something about him that made the fear feel more distant, even if only for a moment. But that fragile calm shattered when footsteps echoed through the corridor above them. "Coming closer." Nova's heart skipped. "Kaylin!" He angled his head, listening. "They're tracking your emotional pulse," he whispered. "Your fear is signaling them. Try to breathe slowly." Nova nodded quickly, placing a hand over her heart as she forced each breath to slow, one after another, until her panic dulled. The footsteps above paused. Kaylin's eyes softened. "Good, that helped." Nova swallowed. "What now?" "We need to reach the lower courtyard," he said. "There's a safe path beyond the east gate. If we make it there, I can shield you more fully." Nova followed him down the dim hallway, her steps soft but anxious. As they approached the courtyard doors, she asked quietly, "Kaylin, how did you know to come for me, out of everyone?" He slowed, turning toward her with a look that struck straight through the noise and tension. "Because your voice was clearer than any I've ever felt," he whispered. "Loneliness holds many tones, but yours carried hope beneath it." Nova felt her breath catch in her throat. Hope? She hadn't felt hopeful in weeks, maybe months. Yet Kaylin had sensed something she didn't even recognize in herself. But before she could respond, the courtyard lights flickered, once, then twice, before settling into a low, flickering glow. Kaylin stiffened. "They're closer than I thought," he murmured. Nova glanced around nervously. "Where?" Kaylin gently placed himself between her and the darkened stretch of the courtyard ahead. "Stay behind me," he said softly. Nova did. The wind shifted, carrying a faint metallic resonance through the air, like faraway chimes made of something unfamiliar. Nova's pulse hammered in her ears. Then, a shadow moved at the far end of the courtyard. Tall, fluid, drifting forward with unsettling grace. Nova grabbed Kaylin's arm instinctively. "Is that one of them?" she breathed. Kaylin didn't look away from the approaching figure. "Yes," he whispered, "but not the one I feared most." Nova's breath froze. "There's another?" she asked. Kaylin's jaw tightened as the first figure stepped closer, its outline shimmering strangely in the half-light. "Yes," he murmured, "and the other one is far more dangerous." Nova felt her heartbeat stutter as a second shadow appeared, one that moved with silent, startling precision, emerging from behind a pillar directly across from them. Kaylin drew in a slow, bracing breath. "They've found us." Nova's fingers trembled as she clutched his sleeve. "Kaylin, what do we do now?" He turned slightly toward her, his eyes steady even as the danger closed in. "We face them," he whispered, "together." The courtyard felt unnaturally still as the two figures stepped from the shadows, their movements slow and deliberate. Nova's breath quickened, but she stayed behind Kaylin just as he'd asked. She could feel his calm, like a steady pulse, guiding her through the rising fear. The first figure approached with a strange, gliding grace, its outline shimmering like heat rising from pavement. The second was quieter, too still, watching them with a focus that made Nova's skin prickle. Kaylin kept his voice low. "Remember what I told you. Your fear strengthens their pull. Stay close, stay steady." Nova nodded, clutching her hands together to stop their trembling. The taller of the two figures paused a few yards away, its shape flickering as if it were struggling to hold a solid form. When it spoke, its voice echoed strangely, soft and layered, like several whispers overlapping. "We sensed her," it said. "She carries the resonance. Release her." Nova swallowed hard, but Kaylin stepped forward, protecting her with quiet resolve. "She is not yours to claim," he said evenly. The second figure tilted its head, its eyes, if they were eyes, glowing faintly in the dim light. "She called out," it murmured. "We only answer what is sent." Nova felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "I didn't call for anyone," she whispered. The first figure turned toward her, its form rippling. "You did. The echo reached far beyond your world. We felt it." Kaylin's voice grew sharper. "She didn't summon you. She was hurting. That is not the same as an invitation." The second figure stepped closer, its presence colder, heavier. "Pain is a doorway, and her doorway opened wide." Nova pressed a hand against her chest, fighting the panic rising again. She didn't understand all of this, why her emotions mattered, why these beings cared, why any of it connected to the strange power Kaylin claimed she held. But she knew one thing with absolute clarity. She didn't want to go with them. Kaylin sensed her fear spike and gently reached back, brushing his hand near hers, not touching, but offering closeness. "You're not alone," he whispered. The first figure extended a shifting, indistinct arm. "Come with us. We will unlock what you carry." "No." "No." A ripple passed through both beings, something like surprise, maybe annoyance. The second figure leaned forward. Your potential is wasted on this world. With us, you will understand your purpose. Kalen stepped in front of her fully, his voice steady but fierce. Her purpose is hers to choose. The courtyard air thickened, humming with unseen tension. Nova felt it wrap around her like cold fog, tightening with every passing second. Kalen, what do they want to do to me? They want to use your heart's resonance as a source, he murmured. Your emotions carry strength you don't realize. They don't want to guide it, they want to harvest it. Harvest made Nova step even closer to him. I'm not going with them, she whispered. You won't, Kalen assured softly. But the figures didn't retreat. The taller one raised both arms slowly, and the air around them began to pull inward, like gravity tightening. Nova stumbled, gripping Kalen's sleeve. What's happening? She cried. They're trying to separate you from your grounding, Kalen said through clenched teeth. They need you vulnerable. I am vulnerable, Nova gasped. No, Kalen said quickly. You have strength, but you must focus it. Nova stared at him wide-eyed. I don't know how. You do. He turned just enough for her to see the certainty in his eyes. Your resonance is strongest when you feel something true, something deep. Nova tried to think through the panic, through the cold pull dragging at her from the figures ahead. True feelings. Deep feelings. Her mind searched desperately. Loneliness had drawn him here. Fear had drawn the others. But there was something else, something warmer. Nova looked at Kalen. The way he protected her. The way he listened. The way he believed in her before she believed in herself. A quiet, trembling realization pulsed through her. Kalen, she whispered, I feel something. I don't know what it means, but I feel it. Kalen's eyes softened instantly, glowing faintly in the dim courtyard light. Hold on to that, he murmured. Let it rise. Nova closed her eyes. She breathed in the warmth of that moment, the safety beside him, the strange bond forming faster than logic allowed. Her chest tingled. The air around her shifted. A soft wave of shimmering light pulsed outward from where she stood. The two figures hissed in unison, recoiling as the resonance, her resonance, washed across the courtyard like a warm tide. The pull they held over her broke instantly. Kalen straightened, placing a supportive hand near her back. You did it, he whispered. You pushed them out. The taller figure staggered backward, its form unraveling at the edges. This is not done, it warned, its voice warping. We will return when the resonance rises again. The second figure flickered violently, its glow sputtering. Kalen stepped forward, his voice steady and unyielding. She won't be alone when it rises, and you won't touch her. A sharp gust of wind swept through the courtyard, and with a final shiver of their distorted forms, the two figures vanished, dissolving into the night like fading smoke. Silence settled. Real silence. Nova's legs gave out, and she sank to the ground, breathing hard. Kalen knelt beside her, worry softening into relief. You were incredible, he said gently. Nova shook her head, still trembling. I was terrified. And still, he replied warmly, you found strength you didn't know you had. Nova lifted her eyes, searching his expression. Kalen, what happens now? He smiled softly, the kind of smile that held promise rather than certainty. Now, he murmured, your journey begins, and if you'll allow it, I'd like to walk it with you. Nova felt her heart swell, quiet, warm, steady. She didn't have all the answers. She didn't know what her gift meant or what dangers might return. But she knew one thing with clarity she had never felt before. She didn't want to face any of it without him. Nova reached for his hand, hesitantly but willingly. "I'd like that," she whispered. And somewhere above them, the night sky glowed just a little brighter, as though responding to the new resonance blooming within her.